to this edition of CIBER Focus. I'm Sara Reeves, and with me today is Scott Vankirk, General Manager with Imani Workshops. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I wanted to start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about the Imani Workshops themselves.
Okay. Imani Workshops is a organization and / workshop that deals with HIV/AIDS positive women that we get referred to from AMPATH, which is the local HIV care in Eldoret, Kenya. We have a variety of things that we work on. We have a paper making department, jewelry department, fabric, as well as clay. And we build a variety of products to be sold in both regionally and internationally.
Very cool. And I'm curious how it is that you ended up as general manager of the workshops, as I know that you're more of a local Indiana kind of guy.
Well, I'm actually a full-time volunteer.
Okay.
My neighbor was Barb Zeck, who was actually one of the people who helped start the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my best friends is Kenyan, and AMPATH was one of my clients with my business here in the U.S. So when it came time I got to a point in my career where I could semi-retire. All fingers were pointing, moved to Eldoret.
Very cool.
And Joe Mamlin, who started the program, sat me down after about a month of being there and saying, you could go over to Imani and they probably could use your help. So I started as a few days a week volunteer, and then it kind of evolved from there into using my expertise of running a small business and with where I really thought I could help them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you mentioned your expertise of a small business. Can you talk a little bit about your company that you have back
Sure.
here in the States?
Yeah, it's Expo Design. We're out of Indianapolis. We're mostly known for about 60% of our business is doing parade floats.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody that's from the area, like the soldiers and candy canes around the circle,
Mm-hmm.
like that's something we do. We do the tree lighting ceremony, props for museums,
Cool.
things of that nature. So I'm used to kind of dealing with, my degree actually is in fine arts.
Okay.
So I don't really actually have any business background other than running a business for 20 years. So.
Well, and learning by experience.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And boy, did I learn. It took a while. So, but
how did you start your business? Did you work for someone else first, or did you come out of school and I want to own my own business?
Well, I certainly came out of school wanting to own my own business, but I knew I wanted to build parade floats, which is, I know, extremely bizarre, but
sounds cool to me.
I moved out to California for a little bit and decided that I'm definitely a Midwest person. And so then I decided to come back to closer. I'm from Iowa originally.
Okay.
So I decided that I was close enough to home in Indiana, and there was a small company here that I got involved in, and it just kind of the cards fell really quickly. Like he retired, and I bought the company and then kind of expanded it to more of a nationwide company.
Wow. So. And so you're able to use that experience now with Imani.
Yes, absolutely.
How are you using your business experience? What sort of things are you seeing that you're able to help the workshops with?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing was kind of going into Imani was really the process that was involved. There was it was kind of all over the place. It was somewhat managed by doctors and various other people throughout the years that were either trying to run it like a huge corporation or like something in the college setting, which really a small business can't run that way. You need to move a lot quicker, and all the processes were extremely complicated for what it really needed to be. So for the lack of better terms, I kind of dumbed everything down and just made it, tried to streamline it and make it as easy as possible. And I'm not a big believer in titles, but I certainly give defined roles on who's responsible for what in order to kind of get the process going.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did you find it difficult to step into this position in a new environment, or did it seem familiar to you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, certainly there's been learning curves involving knowing the gift industry,
Mm-hmm.
but I think, and then culturally, the differences between the American business world and Kenyan is certainly different. There's like being on time and and other things that you know, were very critical for me. You know, I had to kind of learn as I went along that I needed to kind of relax a little bit, and it wasn't just gonna work like that. And I mean, change is slow anywhere you go. So that really wasn't much of a problem, but really getting everyone on board and to understand. And then I think it took a little while, but once everybody kind of understood, like, okay, this makes sense, then, you know, things started operating a lot smoother.
Mm-hmm. And was there a separate process, both changing the processes themselves and then also changing the culture of, or the environment for people accepting the change?
Yeah, no, I think everybody was really open. I mean, I think there was a level of frustration that was there, that is, you know, that we still are constantly working on. But, you know, for many times that there would be consultants that come in, and they come and they ruffle it up, and then they leave. And there's, you know, I can't really blame the ladies at the workshop. I mean, they were trying to do their best they can from the input that they were getting, and they were getting some good ideas. It's just that they were ideas and there wasn't a plan for execution.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's where having the continuity of someone being there and constantly writing and saying, you know, this is the way we're doing it, and going through the process that way.
So when you say writing, so you're putting all of these processes down. Is there a manual or an SOP book that you're putting together?
Well, there's getting to be. I mean, it's, again, very, very basic, but I mean, we're talking just simple flow charts of like where paperwork flow, production flow. We've established like whiteboards around the building, so we can like actually schedule things. Before, it was just kind of like, okay, we're going to do this, and then something will come in, we'll do this, and you know, and now we're really striving to make sure we hit the 4-week timeline as far as completion of jobs.
Very cool. So the operations part of a business is really very important.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I think that when I initially got there, I mean, and throughout the years, there's been stories of orders happening that somebody put an order in, and it was like 6 months before they got their order back, or something like that. And again, just with the way the process was set up, it was kind of setting it up for failure, and approvals and this and that, and, you know, 10 signatures to get anything accomplished, like it is in a university.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So, you know, really kind of, again, trying to simplify everything. So yeah, we were losing clients because of that. And then there's quality control and things of that nature that we really had to concentrate and focus on, and making sure that those types of things were being looked at. Very, you know, it's difficult in fair trade and with a handmade product to have an exact product every time, but to come as close as we can to having a very consistent and good product that people feel good about buying.
Yeah. And you just mentioned briefly there fair trade. So Imani products are considered fair trade.
Yes.
Have you gone through the certification for that? I
Yes.
know that that's a complicated process.
Yeah, they actually did that before I got there. So I fortunately didn't have to go through that. But we kind of go back through, and like we just redid all of we do work on a piece rate. So if someone is making a necklace like with what you're wearing, you know, certain people make the beads and they get a certain amount. People get a certain amount for stringing the beads, so on and so forth. So we just went back through all of that, making sure that we were falling within the parameters, and people were getting paid enough to live, but yet we were still, they weren't getting paid too much. So we stayed, you know, with good pricing in the market by the time we were there. So,
and that's a tricky thing to
it really is, actually.
Balance.
Like, there are some fair trade companies out there that I sit there and look at, and so how could they possibly make it for that, you know, and still fall within the guidelines. So I'd like to be one of the people that go around and check on them.
You want to see how the competition is pulling it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how long have you been with Imani now?
2 years.
2 years. Is this a permanent move, or what do you think?
Well, my goal is it might be a semi-permanent move to Kenya, but my goal is actually I'd like to fill my position with an actual Kenyan. The whole idea is behind the program is it for it to be a self-sustaining project and business. And I think if we keep having the influence of somebody from the outside there, so my goal is by the end of the year to train somebody and then just work as a mentor from that time out.
Cool.
I'm supposed to be semi-retired.
Well, what does semi mean? So does
I
Expo
still,
Design?
we're still around, yeah.
Okay.
So I have a great staff here, and I work like one night a week, on calling back here. And
How tricky is that to continue to be involved in your business? It's 7 to 8 hour time difference depending on daylight savings.
it's a little tricky, but it's not too bad. I mean, as far as in certain parts of Eldoret where we live, like my house, the internet is really good.
Yeah.
So when I'm at home, I'm able to work pretty well, with via email and that type of thing. So it's pretty good from that standpoint. And the phone system in Kenya is really rather amazing. So there's you can get reception like anywhere.
Yeah.
And so you can always make a phone call if you need to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you then?
Well, that's I actually just am working with a friend where we just opened a cancer clinic up in Nairobi.
Okay.
Because it's an ongoing. He's actually Kenyan, but he was trained here at IU Medicine. He's still actually an employee of Ampath. But we opened a private clinic in Nairobi to an outpatient chemotherapy clinic, because it's, without getting too much into it, but a lot of the times people will go overseas in order to be able to get that care, when really you can get exactly that same care in Kenya. There just wasn't the qualified staffing to be able to do it. Interesting. So,
did you have an interest in the healthcare industry before, or did your work related to Ampath kind of lead you down that road?
Well, so I was always been pretty heavily involved in the Indiana AIDS Fund here in Indy, as well as a few other healthcare type providing things. So it's always kind of been at the forefront, I guess, as far as with what I'm thinking. But it's kind of on a whole different scope when you move to Kenya.
Yeah.
So
very interesting. Yeah. A lot of our students here at Kelley are expressing more and more interest in, impactful work, meaningful work, social work, things like that. Do you have advice for students who are interested in working in these kinds of fields?
Well, I think probably, I was a little nervous doing it, and I was lucky because I had some financial stability, but kind of just jump in and see, I think, where you think you can fit. I mean, it took me a little while to understand where I could best help. But I think there's so much opportunity out there, especially in Kenya and in East Africa, of opportunities to do those kinds of things. And then you can see, with doing those kinds of things, where there's another niche to start another business, like I did with the cancer care and that kind of thing. So excellent. Yeah,
that's some good advice for our students.
It's great. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of idiosyncrasies with working in other countries and processes that we're not used to get things accomplished. And like Kenya within itself is very paperwork and all that kind of stuff heavy to be able to to do those kinds of things. So
I feel like we can sense the British influence.
Yes, we totally can sense it. And yes, I blame the British for almost everything that happens there. I mean, you'll just get so frustrated that you're just like, do we have to make this so complicated? I mean, not that our government here isn't complicated.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, but again, the British influence of making everything incredibly difficult. So blame the British. Sorry if there's any British people out there.
This is a good note to end on. Blame the British.
Right.
Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that I should have asked you about?
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, overall, I mean, I guess I want to express that it's been an amazing experience, and if anybody has the opportunity to do it, or get involved in any level, I mean, they really, really should. It's amazing, and Kenya within itself is an amazing place, amazing weather. I'll point that out, and amazing people. So I highly recommend it.
Excellent.
So.
And as I did when we were talking with Evelyn, we can plug that in the future we hope to have Imani Workshop products available online, so
yes,
you can look for those.
Definitely.
And if you are in the Indiana area, Indianapolis and Bloomington are selling those products at Global Gifts, so you can keep your eye out there as well.
Yes, please do.
And thank you for joining us
All
today.
Right. Thank you.
It was good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Excellent.
Thanks.
That's it for this edition of CIBER Focus. If you have any comments or suggestions for future interviews, you can reach us at ciber@indiana.edu.